Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Tonight, the Golden State Warriors, the Bay Area zone, Golden State Warriors punch their ticket back into the NBA Finals. But that's not necessarily what I want to talk about. Before I dive in, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. Tonight, I don't want to just talk about the Golden State Warriors, and I think just a quick moment has to be given to the Golden State Warriors just to commend them on the incredible job that they have done transitioning from the last finals appearance, Klay Thompson going down, tearing his ACL. Then the following season, Stephen Curry on his revenge tour gets injured early on in the season, and they end up tanking. Then at the end of that season, going into the next season, during off-season workouts, Klay Thompson tears his Achilles in a workout in like a pickup game. So then he's out an additional season, and they go through a series of, I want to say, about 3 years not making the playoffs. 2 years. Is it 2 or 3? I always forget. Either way, they don't just fall out of the playoffs. They don't just lose Kevin Durant, but they retool while they solidify the core that's been able to create this dynasty. And how do I say that they did that? Well, one, they took the long view. They took the long view. They said, okay, we're not rushing Klay back, right? They didn't bring him back after the Achilles until after a year and a half. So they gave him additional time so that he came back not just at 100%, but 110%. Meaning that not only was he healthy, not only was he strong, not only was he at maximum physical capacity, but he was able to come in immediately and contribute. Now, getting his legs back, getting his wind, getting his rhythm, getting his confidence in his moves, the moves that he added between the last finals appearance and his return. They waited until all that was at a premium to where he can come right in immediately and contribute. And he did. Kudos to them for taking the long view. They didn't overplay Stephen Curry trying to get into the first round of playoffs. They made sure that if anybody was hurt, they rested him, especially with Draymond Green and Stephen Curry all being older. They made sure that they took care of their bodies. Not only that, but you saw when they knew that they would potentially be ready to win, they brought in the veterans. That's how I told people a while ago, when a team is about to start tanking is because they have no veterans. Or they only have veterans who don't make a big difference at the end of the bench. They're there for contract purposes, and they play a bunch of young guys. If your team has a bunch of young guys who are new and unproven, it's a sign that they're tanking, right? But the Golden State Warriors decided to pull in all the young talent, meaning Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, even James Wiseman, brought in these guys early on during those tank seasons in between the last finals appearance. And they allowed those guys to develop. They focused on their development. They played them heavy minutes in the G League. When they were ready to be brought up, they brought them up. They gave them significant playing time. Not only that, but they were able to parlay the trade exemption from Kevin Durant leaving, or it was a trade exemption or something like that. But they were able to use that cap space to go out and get D'Angelo Russell. Oh, it was a trade exemption because they traded him for D'Angelo Russell. Then they quickly knew D'Angelo Russell was not the solution. But here's the thing that was so crafty by Bob Myers is that he brought in D'Angelo Russell not because he wanted to keep him around, right? There was a quick moment where they were like, maybe he's going to be available to be something for us, but they quickly knew that he wasn't, right? Didn't play defense, didn't get to the free throw line, didn't really do anything that they really needed. And so they said, we're going to flip this contract for another player who's extremely talented, right? Who can potentially be what we need. So we're going to maintain this salary availability, knowing that they were going to be over the cap, right? They kept all the veterans down to a minimum, so they didn't go too far over the cap, having a bunch of young guys during the off years. But they flipped Durant's contract into D'Angelo Russell and then flipped it again into Andrew Wiggins. And when they did that, they brought in Andrew Wiggins. They said, look, we want to see if you can play this role for us, right? That Andre Iguodala, Leandro Barbosa type role, get out in transition, attack the rim, be a versatile defender, right? And they bring him in and they develop him in their system. And over the years, he plays, he gets accustomed to their system, playing with Stephen Curry alongside of him. And then Clay comes back, and all of a sudden it all comes together. They bring in Nemanja Bjelica. They have Kayvon Looney developing. Jordan Poole is now ready to contribute. And they essentially have a team that's ready to make a run. And you know what? They did just that. They did just that. They made their run. The basketball gods smiled on them a little bit. Ja Morant goes down. All right. Phoenix gets taken out. I think they would have beat Phoenix too. But they're able to move into the playoffs round after round, not having to go too deep into a playoff series. Maintain their legs because Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green have a lot of miles on them. A lot. And the young guys were able to infuse the energy that they needed to be able to continue to make this run. And now they're in the finals. Kudos to the organization, the structure, the coaching, the system, the players, the integrity, the leadership, the defense, the shot making, the confidence. The Golden State Warriors are one hell of a Western Conference Finals champion. And now they're moving into the NBA Finals. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see them against Boston, especially because Boston has, and everybody's going to be like, oh, here he goes again. Thinking somebody else is going to be able to take down the Golden State Warriors. Look, let me just put it this way. Boston has always had Golden State Warriors number. Just check out the record. Past years, they've always kind of had their number. They've always been able to play them at a high level. And it'll be interesting because where most of the teams in the finals, or most of the teams that they've faced throughout these playoffs, have really had one guy that they really had to worry about. Well, in this case, they got two. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And not just that, but this is a team that's gone deep before. Similar to the Golden State Warriors. When they were beginning their run, remember, Jason Tatum was entering into the league and getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been deep in the playoffs many times. They're seasoned, right? They've been under the pressure. They haven't been to the NBA Finals, and I will give them that. So the Warriors have a little bit of experience there. But, well, not a little bit, a lot of experience there. But this core team of the Golden State Warriors, the Boston Celtics believe in one another. They believe in each other. They believe in their system. They believe in their coach. And they found a certain synergy, a chemistry. And I think they're going to be a tough out. I think this series in the finals goes 6 or 7. Likely, I think about 60 to 70% Golden State Warriors wins it. I think they jump on Boston before they're ready. Maybe steal a game early in Boston and clean it up in 6 and win another championship. But Boston will have something to say about that. It will not be a cakewalk. I wouldn't be shocked if Boston takes one in Golden State. Right? So, with all that said, I know that's a whole lot, but this is the NBA Finals, so I got to say something. This NBA is a make or miss league. A make or miss league. And when I say that, a lot of times, I know how the NBA publicized it. They make it seem like it's a regular season thing. Make or miss league, make or miss league. No. Throughout the regular season, it's about systems. It's about depth. It's about coaching. It's about if you have enough talent, a solid foundation, team culture, things like that, right? All these different things in play. A make or miss league means the most when you get into the playoffs, especially in the semifinals, finals, and championship. In those series, every team that you face is going to be elite. Is going to be elite. Their coaching, their defense, their system, their culture, their belief in themselves and one another, all of them are going to be at a premium. These guys generally all believe, genuinely, that they can win a championship that year that they're in the playoffs. When you get to the Western Conference, Eastern Conference semifinals, you believe you're going all the way. You believe you're only 2 series away from punching your ticket to a championship series. But this is where it comes in, make or miss league. In this league, there are a handful of guys who can get their shot off at any time. But there's even a smaller handful of guys who can get their shot, make their shots under the greatest pressure. When the lights are hot, when they're beaming down on them, when the stands are full, when the season is at stake, when everyone rolls the dice on them and says, you know what, you hit these shots. You bring us home. Now, why is that important? Well, a few things happen in the playoffs that the regular season doesn't really compare to. One, the other team has a chance to prepare for you multiple games in a row, right? This means that their schemes are going to get more and more advanced each time that they play you. They're going to tweak, they're going to adjust, they're going to take away what you want to do primarily. They're going to force you into things that you don't want to do, which means that your system is going to break down, right? That swinging of the ball, that backdoor cut, that screen, they're going to do something to take that away. They're either going to switch it, they're either going to hedge hard, they're either going to play the passing lane, they're either going to surrender a shot to a guy you don't want taking that shot just so they could take away that primary action. Your system is going to break down in the playoffs just because the other team's planning and defensive intensity. Secondly, everyone's shooting percentage goes down. Why? Because your legs and the defense. The defense are going to close out harder. They're going to be better schemed to try to contest and take away your primary shot. And your legs, they're going to get exhausted. You know why? Because you're doing the same on the other end. You're giving 110% each and every play on the defensive end. And that takes a toll out of your body, right? So your shooting percentage is going to go down, right? So your system breaks down, your shooting percentage goes down, and the defense is ratcheted up to its highest level. Not only that, but you probably are playing against a good defensive team that can defend multiple positions across the board and usually defend the rim pretty well. Now, this is why it's a make or miss league. Because in this moment, remember that handful of guys I told you about? There's a handful of guys who the pressure is not going to get to them. There's a handful of guys that don't care how good your defense is. They still believe they can get the same 30 they got on you in the regular season, in the playoffs, in the semifinals, in the conference finals, in the NBA finals. They believe in their game and they can back it up. They have the talent and ability to get that shot. Now, a whole lot of other things have to come together. You got to have the experience. You got to have the supporting cast. You got to have the system. You still got to have the coach. You still got to have all these other things. But once you have all those things and you face another team who has all those things, it's about who has someone who can rise to the occasion and take the pressure off of everyone else. Make the game easier for their teammates by saying, hey, I'll command the double team. I'll have so much gravity in my ability to get my shot off and make and get a bucket that it will draw your defender a few extra steps away so that if I do kick it to you, you'll have a good shot opportunity. You won't have to worry about a guy who's all in your face and you taking a hard shot because you're not that guy. Remember, there's a handful. There's a handful that can make those shots in the playoffs when the lights are its brightest. And we see here with the Boston Celtics and Miami Heat, Boston's got 2, Miami's got 1, kind of a half of 1, because I guess he's kind of injured. Jimmy Butler I'm talking about. Bam Adebayo, I stated earlier in a prior video, Bam Adebayo, and actually I said it, I tweeted this, I said Bam Adebayo needed to outplay Jaylen Brown in this series for Miami to have a chance. Unfortunately, Bam Adebayo hasn't even outplayed Al Horford or Marcus Smart. They've been on the same level. And so really it's been Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown against Jimmy Butler. And we see who's winning that. Then you look at the Golden State Warriors versus the Dallas Mavericks. You got Luka. And you got guys in Dallas who have stepped up a little bit. Spencer Dinwiddie. And you have Jalen Brunson, who's also been commendable. But with the Golden State Warriors, you got to go down your list. You got Stephen Curry. You got Klay Thompson, who showed up in a big way in this closeout game. And then they've got Jordan Poole. Right? They've got guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention Andrew Wiggins, the Canadian Kobe Bryant, they used to call him. Well, he's finally showing all the promise that everybody saw in him. Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry. They've got 4. Luka and the Dallas Mavericks, they've got 3. Well, what happens? 4 beats 3. And that's what we're seeing here. Now, I think it's also a matter of experience, right? That game 3 that Dallas lost, I think that they didn't know how to go into that game to take that game. They're very inexperienced at that level. Remember, they were first round knockouts in the past few years, the first time getting this deep. And in that game, Luka was great, but he wasn't greatness. He didn't have that transcendent moment to say, I'm bringing this game home no matter what. I think he has the ability. I think we'll see that next year. I think you'll see him know that it's his moment. He'll probably talk to LeBron in the offseason. It's his favorite player, remember? And LeBron will talk to him and say, hey, you've got to be greatness. Not just great, you've got to be greatness. Which means you're going to overcome the whole thing. You have to put it on yourself to overcome the whole thing. To get the games that your team needs you to get. That's how you get to a championship round. And the Golden State Warriors exploited that. They made shots. Andrew Wiggins made shots. Stephen Curry made shots. And Dallas didn't. And so when we look at your team, and a lot of guys, I mean, you got to look at a team like the Chicago Bulls, thinking about the whole Zach LaVine situation, right? Are they going to re-sign him or not? Are you sure he's one of those guys in the playoffs? For the most part, we don't know. He's only been in one playoff series, and he wasn't that great. But what we do know is that he's got the potential to be. But right now, we can't say. How many teams out there can say they've got one of those guys? Right? You look at the teams who made the playoffs this year. You got your CJ McCollums and Brandon Ingrams, right? They just didn't have the experience. They didn't have the supporting cast, right? So they got knocked off by Phoenix, right? You got guys like Devin Booker. Chris Paul used to be one of those guys, but it looks like his legs are just about done. And DeAndre Ayton, not yet. I think he will be one day, but not yet. Look at Memphis. They got Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson Jr., not yet. Not yet. You see, if you're going to win a championship, you've got to have those guys. Desmond Bane even, I think he will be, just not yet. You need guys who you can guarantee and say, you know what, I trust these guys. Even if they get slowed down one game, they'll bounce back and they will get me a game. You need those guys. Miami, they've got one. Bam Adebayo, not yet, hopefully. You got the Milwaukee Bucks, they had 2. Really, they had 3. Drew Holiday proved he could be that guy in a different way. But when they faced the Boston Celtics, they had 1. They just had 1. Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he ran up against 2. Right? So when you look at your team and the guys you have on there, especially if you didn't make the playoffs, you got to ask yourself, who on this team could be those guys? The make or miss guys. The guys who are going to get the shot, no matter how good the defense is. They're going to make their shot, even if the offensive scheme breaks down. Even if everything goes wrong. They can still get their 20 to 30 points a game when you need it. They can go back and forth with the best of them. And this is why teams that even if they didn't make the playoffs, we still believe in. Like no matter what you say, for those who are smart, Los Angeles Lakers, you still believe in them. Why? They got two of those guys who've been there, done that. You know they can get you there. Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Los Angeles Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Reggie Jackson, even Marcus Morris to an extent. They rise up to the occasion and make shots when you need them to. They can go back and forth. Right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they only got one of those guys. You got Darius Garland. All right? They need 2 or 3 of those guys. They'll see if Colin Sexton is one of those guys next year. All right? Karis LeVert kind of wasn't this year in the play-in. All right? Atlanta Hawks, they got Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, not quite there yet. All right? John Collins, not quite there yet. All right? So you got to ask yourself, is your team bringing in the guys who can make those shots? Because if you don't, you're going to keep missing. And you're going to miss out on the playoffs year after year after year because you ain't got one of those guys. Yo, if you like this video, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Let me know what you think. List your favorite team and let me know who you think are those make guys versus miss guys on your team. The guys that you think, if you guys get into the playoffs, are going to be someone you can depend upon. All right? Let me know what you think. Holla at y'all next time. See y'all on Twitter at RockNeverStops2. Peace.